Hello and welcome to a new episode of Ramblers Rising. I'm your host Richard.
And I'm your other host, Aaron. Today we're going to be going over chapters 20 through 22 of Red Rising. Richard, how you doing today?
I'm doing so amazing. How are you doing?
You know, I have never been better in my entire life.
Really?
Because we're
That's a
talking
pretty high
about some
bar.
fire chapters of Red Rising.
I'm inclined to agree with you. I mean, we just ended on kind of a crazy point with the passage, everyone has to murder someone else to survive, kind of Hunger Gamesy.
Yeah, it's kind of wild that they start off in their time in the Institute with a murder, but it really gets them into the whole mode of being cold-hearted or yeah, and cold-blooded killers, I guess.
Yeah, the
Um,
peerless scarred machine at work really is something. I mean,
it really is something. I'm sitting here drinking my coffee this morning out of my French press. Not directly out of my French press, but drinking
mm,
my French press coffee. It is 12:16 in the afternoon, however.
I woke up at 1 p.m. yesterday. I don't think we can talk about that. I felt like a
Yeah.
piece of garbage yesterday. Oh my god.
You do work until like fucking 1 o'clock in the morning.
I only work till midnight, bro. It ain't that bad.
Only until midnight. Only until midnight. Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Dude, I would get out of fucking Tully's later because we'd have people staying until midnight and then cleaning up after, 15 people. Ugh,
Yeah,
terrible.
that's very true.
I do not miss the restaurant business.
No, that's the restaurant business is rough, bro, especially in customer service.
Yeah, yeah, people suck. I'm not gonna lie.
People suck, indeed. Yeah, when you're in the front of house, you have all of the assholes on your back all the time, and then when you're in the back of house, you have to deal with just so much shit. Bro, I swear the amount of times that people send back food and it's completely fine is just it's wild to me.
Oh yeah, we would have people send back food that they didn't even touch. That's called free food. If I put it on the table and they send it back before I walk away and I don't see them put their hands on it at all, it just doesn't look right to them, that is free fucking food. I don't care
Yeah.
what anyone says.
Richard, we've been playing some Crusader Kings 3 lately, haven't we? With Chase.
We have, and in that Lord of the Rings mod, I am wreaking havoc as Sauron.
Yeah, you started as the most overpowered character in the whole game. And
I'm also bad at the game, so
yeah. Whatever excuse you need to sleep at night,
it didn't stop me from assassinating you and then also Aragorn as soon as he became the High King.
that's very true. You did all that.
Yeah.
Oh, some good news. I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but Chase now has my copy of Red Rising.
I don't know if you did, but he told me about it when he was beating my ass in Dragon Ball. So we good. I know about that one.
Yeah, so maybe on one of these episodes we're gonna at some point have Chase on if he catches up to us, or perhaps we'll see. We'll see. Depends on if he actually.
Buddy, you might have to finish Golden Sun then before we start it so that he can catch up with us.
That's true. That's true. I might have to. Might have to get ahead a little bit.
Unbelievable. Still can't believe you haven't finished it. Such a good book.
Listen, I said I was gonna save it, but now I might have to change my plans just a little bit.
It's the best book around from the
Is it?
concept of books or from the standpoint of books.
Is it a concept of a book,
It
or is it a full
I have
book?
concepts of a book. Yes, it's a full book. It's a peak full book actually.
Yeah. Just like you when we play Crusader Kings and you have concepts of murder plot.
Of assassinating Galadriel next.
You're
I
not gonna
have to
get to
win.
her. You're not gonna get to her.
Yeah, no, the success chance is negative 200 something percent, but I feel like if
Yeah.
I wait it out, it'll go up enough.
I'm playing as an orc and I'll defend her, bro. You're not getting to her.
I'll assassinate you too.
You already did twice.
I only did once.
Yeah, that's what you say.
I
I
didn't
know.
knowingly assassinate you a second time. I'm not gonna lie, I was just assassinating random leaders, but
You really
that
were.
was its own thing. Well, yeah, and then I have a all of the Gondorians like rebel every once in a while, so I just assassinate the slave leader, and then we're back to normal.
Yeah. We should probably get onto some Red Rising before
Yes, because I
people.
could yap about this forever, but we should stop. Thank you for
Yeah.
stopping me.
So, Richard, where are we starting off here in chapter 20? The House Mars.
We're starting off with Darrow. He's just standing over Julian's, as Darrow puts it, extremely disfigured corpse that not even Cassius would recognize. And my goat has great eyesight, so that's kind of fucked up.
It is. All the golds have great eyesight, right? But
Well,
especially
yeah, but
Darrow?
especially Cassius because he's my beloved Pookie Bear.
Oh my god. Number one Cassius Glazer.
I am on that shit till I die.
uh, Darrow kind of has this realization that the society, while the low colors and non-golds of the world are really, they're the main victims, but the society kind of fucks with everyone. They are constantly just everyone is a target for the most powerful in the society. Even the ones that you think are at the very top, they're not invincible.
No, not at all. They really do get kind of screwed over, all in the name of Darwinism.
This whole, I mean, really, the whole concept of this book is really just taking social Darwinism to the absolute, like, blown out of proportion, maximum, like, fucked up way that you can think of it, which it's already a really fucked up concept, but just taking that to an even more extreme level is, you got Red Rising, and it's an interesting little case study that Pierce Brown gives us.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes you think, especially moving forward in the books. It gives Darrow even more of a claim to destroy Gold Society. I mean, it's kind of real. It's kind of real as fuck.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, Darrow really ponders his own morality in this because he's just killed someone that, for all intents and purposes, despite the fact that he was a gold and probably was doing some asshole shit, was fairly innocent. And so he's killed this person, and he reflects on Eo's dream. And Richard, do you have anything else to add to his little moment of reflection here?
Um, Not too much, but he kind of, and I should have put this in the outline. He kind of resents EO here a little bit for like putting him on this path. He he's pissed about it, and all he can think about when he thinks of murdering Julian is pulling her legs. Like, I shouldn't say all he thinks about, but it's a big part of what he's thinking about, like pulling her legs. Like, this is now the second person he's killed. Granted, the first one it was a different situation, but he just thinks about how he doesn't want to kill people. And I kind of forgot about this because Darrow is a bloodthirsty motherfucker after book one. I mean, even in book one, but afterwards he's kind of crazy with it.
Yeah, it's such a huge leap from the mercy kill that we saw with Io, and it's just such a jump to now this, which is straight up murder. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's just murdered someone, and that's gonna change him forever.
Yeah, it definitely once he kind of I don't want to say overcomes his moral struggles because he doesn't really do it in a good way, but once he overcomes his struggles with this, he kind of locks in eventually and really starts to just accept that if it's what has to happen for the Sons of Ares like vision to actually actually be realized, then he's gonna do it.
Yeah, I mean, he's said it before that, like, why do I want to do bad things? And or
Yeah,
what's
he.
what's the exact quote? Do you know?
If I'm a good man, then why do I want to do bad things? It's in a lot of edits.
Yeah, and I thinking back to that, I don't know that I really believe that he wanted to do bad things off the get-go. I think that maybe he had that anger in him. He might have had the impulse for revenge. But you have this moment here where he's killed a gold and he feels bad about it. He doesn't feel good about this. This isn't a choice that he wanted to make. It's a choice that was forced on him. The killer be killed, and I think that at this point in the story, he's still not. He doesn't have that piece of him that wants to that deeply and genuinely wants to do bad things. I think that maybe he believes that he does, but it might just be surface level anger that he's blowing out of proportion because he does feel bad about it.
Yeah, I would say right now he's conflicted, and the end result of this inner conflict that he deals with is he kind of, and I feel like this is more of this is a trope in a lot of stories similar to this. He kind of develops like two different personalities. Like he's Darrow Lycos, of course, my goat, but then he's also the Reaper. You know what I mean? Like he kind of flips between those two.
Yeah,
Although you might not see it as much yet, but there are definitely chapters in later books where he's like, in one position he's just like, oh, I don't really want to have to kill anyone, and then in the next chapter he talks about how he, and this is a direct quote, weaves people into his twitching meat carpet. Like
that yeah.
Darrow's a tweaker sometimes.
Yeah, he has that bloodthirst to him eventually, and he develops that. I think that it's very much a learned thing for him throughout his time as a child going through what he went through on Mars, and then his time in the Institute really is gonna drill that into him to be this cold blooded killer. And yeah, I just it's kind of sad to see him fall so far into this hateful and vengeful creature.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that he doesn't like abandon his humanity completely because it would make him a very hard to like character.
Hmm.
Because even though yes, he's a fucking violent creature, he is intent on slaughtering a lot of golds, a lot of peerless. He still has that humanity. He still has that drive to accomplish his wife's dream, and it really, I don't know. That's why I would consider him like a morally gray character because of. But even then, from an outside perspective, Darrow would be seen as just a warmonger.
Yeah,
So it's kind of crazy.
it really is. We get a pretty significant character introduction. Or actually, we get a few character introductions in this chapter now.
Yeah, we do. The next person we meet is actually Roke Alfabii, the poet, is his call sign, and his first like major quote is, "If you are thrown into the deep and do not swim, you will drown." And he tells Darrow to keep swimming, and
I
that's
don't I
oh
don't care
sorry.
that you don't like him. I think he's a pretty cool character.
Okay, I think he's decent, but I think there's a lot better characters.
There's
But
just something so cool about like a warrior poet character. I mean, you think of Vivek from the Elder Scrolls, and I don't know, something about it is just
I,
it
I'm with
scratches an
you.
itch.
I'm with you, and I get it. To me, Roke is just not that character as much as he should be, I guess. But I don't know.
Yeah,
He takes certain actions in the books, you know?
yeah, yeah, he does. And then he, or not Rogue, but Darrow sort of meets the surviving crew. Richard, you want to walk us through who he sees here?
Of course, we see Severo again, my one of my favorite characters and one of your favorite characters too, I'm sure. He's like the small kid who kind of acts a little uncivilized, not even by gold standards, but by Darrow's, like red standards. He kind of acts a little weird, a little silly. There's Titus, who's just this hulking mass of muscle, like taller than Darrow, stronger than Darrow, and we've established that Darrow's pretty built. There's this small girl who follows Roke around. Her name's Leah. And then, of course, Antonia Au Julii survived as well. We met her last chapter too, or last week, whatever.
Yeah,
Um, and then, of course, my beloved goat Cassius survives, and he is just looking for Julian. And he asks Darrow if Darrow has seen him or knows anything about him, and Darrow just kind of lies right to his face. Cassius is then given some false hope, and everyone starts to gather, and no Julian.
I'm sure he's just been inducted into one of the other houses. He's surely fine.
Well, no, they know that Julian was
He's
inducted into Mars.
maybe they changed it. He's surely
Oh,
fine, right?
oh, yeah, of course. Except he isn't, because Darrow murdered him brutally.
uh, Fitchner announces that Priam is dead and justifies the whole process of the passage with fucking statistics, which
Yeah, he's like the surviving members were in the top 1% of applicants, and the guys who died were in the bottom 1%, so it was all right.
yeah, I mean, as soon as you start looking at people as statistics, you know that this group of people is just evil. You As soon as you take away their humanity and start assigning statistics and numbers to human beings, it's immediately stripping them of their humanity, which is it's so interesting to me the way that it's constantly this book is always moving the bar of who is allowed to live and be free and who isn't. Like, you think that the golds they're the ruling class, they're the ones who are safe, and then they move this bar where these kids are now dying and they're all golds, and it's just the society takes and takes and takes and gives nothing back to the people.
Yeah, the society, for all its po- hmm, what's the word I'm looking for here? Can't think of it. For all its preaching about how fucking awesome it is and how golds are on top always, it it really doesn't live up to that because I mean, shit. Like you said earlier, like these kids, half of the class just got murdered. That's 600 people that could have at least done something with their lives, but nope, gotta
Yeah,
murder them.
and we get an introduction to what's going to be the setting for the majority of the rest of this book. Richard, you want to tell us a little bit about this place?
Yeah, the Val Marineris. That's the pronunciation in the audiobook. Don't at me if you think I'm wrong. I don't care. It's this big ass valley, completely terraformed, and there's 12 castles, and that's one castle for each of the 12 houses. And Castle Mars is pretty big. I mean, they go into a lot of detail, and we're not going to do that just because it'd be a little much. But it's a big castle. It's an awesome castle ripped straight out of like Arthurian myth. Okay, that's the best way to describe it. I feel like.
Hmm. Yeah, it's pretty. They describe it in very high detail. It's almost like a George R. R. Martin description of like the fucking dinner table when he goes into all of his descriptions. That's kind of how Pierce Brown goes into this castle. But
Yeah.
after we get our introduction to the 12 castles for the 12 houses, we see Cassius finally accepting that Julian is dead, and he kind of crashes out, justifiably, because his twin brother is dead, and he attempts to get everyone to admit who killed Julian. Does anyone fess up?
No, actually, he does. He fesses up that he killed some dude that he played like I don't know some games with when he was a kid, like not childhood friends, but they used to be friends, and he just fucking brutally murdered this kid, and everyone just kind of decides to fuck off. It's really not. It doesn't work, and we see that like the passage has already sown those seeds of distrust.
Yeah, I mean, you have Cassius who is now paranoid about the fact that any one of the people who he has to rely on f- uh, with his life, he has to trust these people with his life. Any one of them could be his brother's murderer.
Yeah, and I think he makes the right choice, trusting Darrow. Darrow would never. I mean,
He truly wouldn't. He truly wouldn't.
yeah.
What if the passage? What if the true good ending is they all just refuse to fight each other, and that's how they pass the
I think
test?
they all die. I think that's what would happen given Gold Society.
Always have to ruin the good ending.
Yeah. Do you remember who Severo killed? I feel
I
like it gets
don't.
explained. Fuck.
I don't think it was anyone of like great importance to the story.
Okay.
I
Couldn't
at least I
remember.
don't remember it being someone significant. I think that it was just we might have gotten a brief introduction to that person, but I don't think that it was anyone big.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, everyone separates into their little cliques, their little groups, and they find a place to sleep in the castle.
Yeah.
And they go to bed for the night. Their first night in the House Mars castle.
Yeah, they all go to sleep, and Fitchner tells them that the next day is obviously before they go to sleep. I'm out of order. Fitchner tells them that the next day will be orientation, and that's where we start chapter 21, Our Dominion. Aaron, you want to start us off?
I do. Fitchner takes the kids on a tour of the area and kills a deer, making Goblin drag it back to Castle Mars. So they get a little bit, not only a tour of the area, but they also get, I'm sure, what is their first introduction to hunting. I would imagine that most of them haven't had to gather food for themselves, being born into the high society. But
Yeah.
have you ever been hunting?
No, I haven't actually. How about you?
Um, See, my family all hunt. I personally I'm not into it. The idea of having to kill something and then drag it back and prior to that sitting in a tree for 6 hours. I don't know. It's just not. Nothing about it sounds appealing to me.
Wow, not even a true Goblin fan. A true Goblin fan would be itching to brutally murder an animal.
A Goblin fan certainly would be. And while Goblin is a great character, I don't know that I resonate with him on a spiritual level.
No, really, you don't. You don't want to do some of his other hobbies.
His other. He loves horses.
Fucking hell. Oh my god. That's not even the worst thing that they do in this series by a long shot, bro.
Just to clarify, there is no bestiality. That
Yeah, no, no,
even
no,
though
no, no. Sorry,
that might have
that
sounded
sounded
like
really
it,
bad.
there is none of that happening. So, just to clarify,
Yeah,
but Mars Castle is in between two rivers in sort of a highlands type of area, just to give you guys an idea of the geography of the area. The whole valley is set up in a way where it's pretty big, right? Like there's a fair amount of
yeah,
distance between each of the castles.
yeah. They can only really see. They only see one of their neighbors from. They can only see it from the borders of their area, and that is House Series.
Yeah, and there is that house. Do they really have too much significance in the story?
Series, a little bit. Minerva's more important. I'd say like the top four houses that we're gonna care about are obviously Mars because my beloved Pookie Darrow is part of House Mars. Then we got Ceres, Minerva, and I want to say it's House Pluto.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
remember if you know who I'm talking about. I mean I think you do.
Yeah,
The
I
bad
do.
guy.
Yeah, and there's a really there's a floating castle in the sky, which is called Olympus, kind of going back to the whole theme of the gods that the society really enjoys putting out there.
Yeah, and that's where the proctors just kind of sit on their asses.
Exactly. Sit on their asses and watch the houses duke it out with each other, occasionally offering some help and guidance, but really they're just these kids are on their own and the proctors are just watching them. How do
Yeah.
I get that job? How do I get a job where I just sit up in a castle and do nothing all day and get paid to do it?
Yeah, I don't know. Fitchner's a lucky bastard, but I love the concept of Olympus. I feel like it is a really cool. It's just cool, man. Like I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, do we get any kind of explanation? Is it floating like is it some sort of anti-gravity thing? Is it on
It's
maybe a mountain? Like, what is the deal with it?
so I think the way it works, I don't know how if they do explain it, but you know, like how they have like grav boots and stuff that
Yeah.
allow them to float. I'm assuming it's just that technology on a bigger scale.
Okay. That's what I was imagining, but I wasn't sure if I just had a completely wrong idea in my head.
No, I just see it, the way I see it is just a big floating castle in the sky, like just as simple as that. And I'm assuming it's got grav gens or whatever on the bottom, but who knows?
For sure. And we already talked about how Fitchner reveals that the Proctors really don't help out at all, but
Yeah, I think
Goblin.
the most he
No, go ahead.
does is kill that deer. Although he does kill it in a cool way, in my opinion. He uses his razor, he wraps the whip around the deer's neck, and then he clicks a button, and it like it tightens or whatever, and kills the deer instantly. And like that's awful and terrible, but I love razors; they're so cool.
They are. Imagining the razors in my head is always, it's so fun. It's just really, it sparks your imagination as a reader.
Yeah, I and also they're just like super strong. They're like stronger than diamond, I think.
Yeah. So Goblin, being the little goblin he is, forgot the deer, and then he mentions that they could always eat wolves, which is a subtle bit of foreshadowing. But yeah, he basically, he kind of screwed the pooch on that one.
Which he would also never do.
No, no, he would not. He would never
No,
actually.
no, no. We gotta,
Just
I gotta keep making reference to your, to what you were trying to paint. You were trying to paint Goblin in a bad light. How dare you?
I was trying to do a little bit of foreshadowing without giving away too much, and it just sounded like I was implying that Goblin likes to engage in unsavory activities,
Yeah,
which
you're
he
not
does
digging
engage
yourself
in.
out of this hole.
He does engage in unsavory activities, but not of that kind. Anyways,
No, just like the murder kind.
just the murderous kind, which all the golds kind of are engaging in that. It's
I
normal
mean,
for
he's
them.
silly about it. He's silly about it. You know.
Yeah, murdering in a silly way. Darrow and Cassius race towards a house series feast, and the Sarah students are lying in wait. Darrow and Cassius fight back against them and win, Darrow taking a curved blade from them as they incapacitate the golds of the rival clan or rival house.
Yeah.
And this whole fighting back against an ambush and Darrow getting his curved blade. This is how Darrow sort of starts to become known as the Reaper with this curved blade of his, which is, it's just
Yeah.
sick as fuck.
I love the Reaper. Such a good nickname, and like the offshoots of it too are weird. My favorite one though is what the Obsidians call him. They call him Tyr Morga, which I don't know directly what it means. Dante told me one time and I forgot. I think it just means like the incarnation of Tyr, who, you know, Obsidians are based in Norse myth, so that's their god of war. That's
I
kind of
see.
crazy.
So is Tyr more? Is that like? I know Tyr is a Norse god, but is that like some sort of Norse language that they're using or that they speak, or is it something made up for this, or do you not know?
Uh, I don't really know. I'm not gonna lie. I should know more, but
I'm gonna look it up right now. Do you want to get into the next point while I'm doing that?
yes, that sounds like a good idea. So yeah, they find out due to Fitchner and House Series Proctor, they're not allowed to kill each other, which is kind of stupid. I mean, it happens here and there regardless because, I mean, it's a brutal book. There's a lot of murder in this book, and so then the House Series Proctor kind of sends them away, and Fitchner agrees, but Darrow and Cassius and Titus kind of want to stay. So more series golds come and attack. They're on horseback because, of course, they get horses. Their proctor cares more,
Yeah.
and so House Mars has to retreat. Do you have an answer on that, Tier Morgan?
Yeah, I actually do. So according to a Reddit thread, which is the most reliable source of information, um, it literally like means just Tyr Morga is both a reference to the god Tyr, but it also apparently means morning star.
Oh, that's fitting. Darrow kind of is called the Morning Star by a lot of people.
Yeah, and morning star, you know, there's that's also means
Lucifer.
Lucifer, so got some
Well,
interesting things going on there.
what I love too is I like the other heavy biblical nickname they use for Darrow's opposition in the second trilogy, and that is the Lightbringer. And I feel like
Mm,
that's kind of an interesting way, like have Darrow be the Morning Star, but the other person is the Lightbringer. Like I don't know, it's an interesting parallel for sure.
it is, and I mean, I don't want to talk about it too much because I'm sure we'll get to it eventually in 5 years when we get to the second trilogy. But
Yeah,
yes, Titus really, you can see his bloodlust. It's on full display, and not only is Titus's bloodlust on full display, but there's a clear divide between the two groups in House Mars. One group sort of following Titus, and one group following Darrow, which I think that the main reason people are kind of following Darrow at this point is because he has that initial influence from being kind of the top of his class, right? Would you say?
I'd say it's that, and he's very charismatic. I mean, we don't see it as much yet, but he once these groups kind of form, he is able to sway some people that are like on the fringes pretty easily. Where like Titus is trying too, but Titus is just like I'm the strongest, rah, and Darrow's like I'm silly. You have to be on my side. I'm Darrow, and it works.
Yeah. And I had a question for you.
Oh boy, what do you got?
If you were in House Mars, would you follow Titus or would you follow Darrow?
Honestly, I guess it would depend. Like, am I one of the smart ones, or am I one of the low drafts?
See, that's the question to ask yourself, isn't
I'm
it?
a low draft. I'm a
Do
low
some
draft.
do
I'm a
some
low draft.
introspection.
I willed the medal. I don't think so. I don't think I'd be making it to the institute. But let's say on a fluke I did. I'd be in Titus's group because I'm an idiot. But what about you? Would you stand with my Pookie, my beloved Darrow, or
I'd like to think I would be with Darrow, but I feel like my five self would be killed in the passage before I even got a chance to make that call. I fear.
yeah? I see you in the passage. Lights out, buddy.
Yeah, I know that you've got it out for me, backstabber.
Yep, with my legion of spies in CK3.
Not the first time you've done that to me in a video game. You better
It
watch your back.
it
You
won't
better
be the
watch your
last.
back.
It won't be the last. Don't worry.
And the rules of this game are kind of explained now, and Fitchner reveals that they win by conquering the other tribes, which they do by using their house standard to make slaves out of the other gold kids. So they need to keep their standard protected. If someone captures that, they essentially don't have the ability to win anymore. They can always get it back or get another standard from another group, but if they lose that, it is basically in
It's
theory game
practically
over.
over. It's practically over. Yeah, because I mean, typically, if they're losing it, they're also getting branded by the other. Not really branded. The standard doesn't like brand you, but it does leave a mark so that they can tell that you're a House Mars slave or a House Ceres or Minerva or whatever the fuck else.
Yeah. And you might have an answer to this. Is the mark that they get permanent? Like, is it going to be a mark of shame for them having been made a slave in the Institute for the rest of their lives? Or is it something that'll go away
No,
after they're
no,
done?
it
Okay.
goes away when they're done.
Got it. Okay. I didn't know. That would be very in line with the golds to do something like that, so I wasn't sure.
Nah, what they get if they were enslaved, what they are is they're like in the middle ranks. Like they're not. I think they make peerless, but they're not like they're not imperators. They're not praetors. They're something lower. They're just like legion peerless, which are
Okay, that
just like the frontline fighters, but they're not commanders or anything.
That makes sense. They're still pretty high up for surviving the Institute and making their way through, but they're not the top of the top. They're not going to be the arch governor of Mars anytime soon. That's for sure.
No, no, they're not. But then there's also like the people who get branded as slaves, but then they refuse to actually remain slaves. Those people don't get peerless scars because they suck.
Yeah, exactly. And this whole standard and making slaves and things like that out of your fellow golds, that's going to be really big for pretty much the rest of their time in the Institute. So that's a good thing to keep in mind how the game is played and how this works. And I'm even hesitant to call it a game because it is kind of
It really isn't. It's just kind of a fucked up existence for a while.
yeah, because they're in the Institute for months.
Nearly a year, I think.
Yeah, it's incredible. And all this time they're living in a medieval castle and basically like living outside of modern technology and put back into the Middle Ages, which is, I think, a really interesting environment for them to be tested.
Yeah, but that's why it works because I mean, you take away all the fancy technology and whoever comes out on top is just they're just built different. They're built for conquering and that's what the golds want.
Yeah, take away the technology, take away the nepotism, in theory, and
Oh yeah, in
uh,
theory.
yeah, and see who's made of what.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and this brings us to our final chapter of this week, chapter 22, the tribes. Richard, you want to start us off?
Oh yeah, of course. Uh so they all wake up the following day and Fitchner, he's gone. Of course he is. He's just a silly little guy and he fucks right off. They wake but after they they wake up, they look around the castle a bit more and they notice that there's a map on the wall that wasn't there before. It's got really good detail of their keep, but then everywhere around their area is completely covered with the fog of war. And they kind of figure that it'll just the map will like fill itself in as they scout. And we find out later in this chapter, but I'll just say it now. They are right. It fills in whatever they go out and scout, pretty much.
Very much like strategy video game rules, almost like with the fog of war and everything. It seems like yeah, very very strategy video game there. And
Yeah.
Severo, he this motherfucker's already killed a wolf for breakfast barehanded. He's absolutely crazy. It's no wonder why
Yeah.
he's the goblin.
He is the bloody damn goblin of Mars, bro. I love him.
I think you mean the gory damn goblin of Mars.
No, I said what I said. I love the red dialect. I'm a ruster.
Yep. And Cassius is really pushing for the tribe to decide on a leader. Does it seem like he has any favorites at the moment for who he wants to be the leader?
Well, of course, his favorite is naturally him because, like I said, Cassius sucks in this book. Like in terms of as a character, he's such a better character in the later books. He's very self-centered, and this is kind of why I like him more. Like this is why I had put him in my as my favorite character because of how he changes throughout the books. But yeah, he wants it to be him, and he really does believe that he's in charge of Darrow's group. But that's because Darrow kind of I don't want to say gaslights him to it, but he kind of does. Like he makes Cassius suggest stuff, but then Darrow okays it, or it's like what Darrow led him to. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's kind of that idea of like Cassius is such a proud and um I don't want to say he's a little stupid, but maybe he is a little naive. And he kind of falls for Darrow's tricks of making him think that he's got all the power when in reality it's Darrow, which is it's a manipulation tactic as old as time, and Darrow just executes it perfectly on Cassius, at least for a little while.
Then they start debating, and tensions rise, of course, between Cassius and Titus, because Titus kind of likes to imply that he brutally murdered Julian in
Mm.
this because he kind of, I don't remember what he says because I read this at 3 in the morning last night, but he implies it a little bit, and then he just kind of puts the pressure on Cassius, and then Titus also calls Darrow out. And this is kind of a weird exchange because Darrow kind of just stays silent, twirling his sling blade, which somehow lets him win. Like I, I don't know. Darrow's too stylish, I guess.
Yeah, Darrow did a money spread on IG, and it, so I need to cut that out.
Yeah, I don't think Darrow would post a money spread. I think he would post like a head spread though, with a bunch of people's fucking heads because he's psychotic.
Antonia says that the only leader should be chosen is the Primus, sending them into disarray until a Primus can be chosen, which is obviously it's a rough thing to suggest that they go leaderless until someone racks up enough points to become the leader. Um, I don't know. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts on that?
my thoughts on this, simply put, Antonia is a manipulative asshole, and I hate her.
Yeah,
It's pretty simple.
yeah. She definitely she's trying to create a little bit of chaos so that she can come out on top, I think.
Yeah, and she kind of plays both sides throughout the book. I mean, I don't know. I just don't like her, man. I can't even explain it because of why I don't like her.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll definitely see why later on. Like we'll see why Antonia and Titus and a few of these other characters are just straight up awful. But we'll get into that in later chapters, I guess.
I fear that you don't actually know why I hate her.
Maybe I have like a little bit of an idea just from her character so far, but I'm sure that there will be more reasons later on in the
It's the
series.
last chapter of Golden Sun.
Yeah. Um Cassius and Darrow's group runs out to counter what seems like a raid, and uh, they start planning to scout the area. But they also find some supply packs hidden around while they're scouting around, and Darrow and his company of soldiers, they find meds, which is just that's a big boon for them to find medication.
Yeah, they also find some matches, but they don't share those because no one knows how to make a fire besides Goblin, and he's jerking off in the bushes somewhere. We don't know what he's doing. We do know that he does that at some point though because of later conversations. He's kind of a freak.
Yeah, he is kind of a freak. Um,
No, he's a very freaky guy. I mean,
he's a freak for sure, and Titus, while Darrow is leading his folks to do actual useful things, Titus is leading his low drafts, the majority of the house members. Severo, just like you said, is he fucks off to the bushes somewhere, and Darrow and Cassius stick with their group. Antonia leads an even smaller group as a garrison to defend the House Mars castle, which they've all fallen into their specific roles of who's doing what, with Darrow's group doing useful shit. Severo and his I don't think that he quite has his own
it's
group
just
yet.
him. It's just
Yeah, it's
Severo. He is full lone wolfing it. It's
yeah.
that was a
And
reference. That was a reference. Hell yeah.
yep. Nice little bit of foreshadowing there again with the wolf. And what is Titus doing, man? What is he doing anything useful at this point?
He's like warmongering, I think. They don't really explain it, like explain what's up. I think he's just doing that. Like he's trying to cement himself as the most powerful faction. That's
Yeah.
really all we can kind of infer at this point.
Yeah. You can tell that to Darrow, it really is life or death. Like he understands that what's at stake because there is more at stake for him than there is for anyone else. But for Titus, it really is just a game. It really doesn't feel as serious for him. He just wants to win.
Yeah. It's definitely something. And they kind of plot, Cassius and Darrow, they start planning some stuff. They agree that the house needs to be united very soon, or they're gonna lose. And Titus, as they say, he's got to be put in his place or put down. Cassius even suggests that they go into his bedroom at night and murder him.
Yeah. Crazy, crazy suggestion. I mean, they've already been told, like, you shouldn't be murdering your fellow golds, but like if you have to during this game, then I guess it's fine, but you try not to is kind of the vibe that the proctors gave them.
Yeah, there's still a lot of strange, like deaths that I just didn't think would be there.
Yeah, and Roke or yeah, Roke realizes that the valley really is just a microcosm of the society as a whole, with the slaves that are taken from the other houses being the stand-ins for the low colors, and whichever house is on top being a stand-in for themselves, the golds. So, I mean, this should be pretty obvious by this point, but Roke does give a little bit of an explanation for the reader of what the valley is essentially.
Yeah, I like the way he does it too, because like Roke's a deep thinker. He's the poet, so it kind of works well for his character too to be like the philosopher of the group,
Hmm.
I guess.
Yeah, and I don't want to spoil it too much, but the metaphor, or just the reality of the valley being a microcosm of the society, um, the actions that certain characters take in the valley are definitely going to be echoes of their larger actions later on in the story.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say it. Titus is awful in this book. All right,
He really is. He
I
sucks.
hate him. I hate him.
Yeah. I mean, how could you not hate him? He's just such an ass.
He really is, and I like that he's awful and that he doesn't get redemption, because if he did, like, I'd probably like him because I'm a sucker for redemption arcs. And I just hate him so much, dude.
Yeah, Titus is an asshole, which I love a character that's easy to hate. Call me a hater, but I
Oh,
love to hate.
I'm clocking in for extra time for overtime at my shift at the Hater Building, bro. You have no idea.
Call me the CEO of Town over here, the way I'm
Of
hating on
Hater
Titus.
Town. I
Yep.
actually went to Hater Town. They had a statue of you in the town square. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. They didn't know you there.
Not yet. I haven't made my hate clear enough. But I
Nope.
do have my characters that I hate. I hate Titus. I hate the Jackal. I hate pretty much any of the gold enemies that Darrow goes against. Ironically enough, I don't hate Nero Augustus as much as I hate some of the others.
Yeah, the I don't want to say too much about him because he's a major character in the second book, but he's just so pathetic. Like I don't know. It's hard to hate him as much as you hate the other people just because he's
Yeah, once you like see him in
Mhm.
person more and not just as like this he murdered Darrow's wife figure, you really
Mhm.
kind of see that he really is just a loser. Lamo.
Loser Lamo
Wannabe.
wannabe.
Yep. God.
So stupid.
It is. We've been keeping it going for a year now.
We
Almost.
have been. It's probably been longer than a year now.
No, I want to say it was like right about when I went to DC last year, and that was
Oh, that's right. That's right.
it was right after I
S-
finished welding school.
Stop! Don't talk to me, loser Lamo wannabe. Darrow
Oh my
sees that
god.
he's at a disadvantage when Titus brings home the first slave of Mars, which gains him a ton of credibility, seeing as he's kind of made the first move to bring House Mars on top over the other houses.
Yeah, he's kind of brutal with it too, of course. Like he's dragging this poor girl in by the hair. And
Yeah,
ugh.
yeah. He not only is he playing the game and taking the other golds as slaves, but he's just being such a dick about it. Like he really is awful. I hate Titus is truly just vile and sadistic.
Yeah, I mean we learn why, but it doesn't justify it.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's uh, there's so many characters that have had awful lives and have grown up in these terrible conditions that grow up to be not like Titus. So it really is just you get an idea of where he's coming from with his horrible behavior, but again, doesn't justify it whatsoever because you have characters who have been through worse things than him and have come out as better people. So
Yeah. I mean, well, you
that,
consider like I feel like my top three for characters that have like been through it and are still awesome. We got Darrow, of course. We've got I would consider Cassius
yeah,
because of everything he goes through, and I would consider Mustang. And then we get the three like inverses to that are spoilers, Titus, and more spoilers. I can't
yeah,
really talk about the two spoiler characters at all because I don't even
yeah,
think you.
yeah.
Well, I know you've met the one. I mean, he's the bad guy of this book.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about him too much though, because we haven't even gotten his introduction. I don't think. Like we don't even know of him yet.
He really doesn't even get much content though in this book. He really is kind of just at the end there. I feel like.
Yeah, he very much. He's more of a presence than he is a character. Absolutely.
Yeah.
These chapters are. It's like you jump right in. This is the meat of the book. This is you're really into the institute, and this is the main plot. I think that they did a great job of setting everything up in the chapters that we looked at last week, and they did a really good job of explaining the rules of them in the Valley Marinaris, and I just I think it's some great writing in these few chapters of getting us introduced.
Truly is, and I'm not gonna lie, I'd say almost all of these chapters are great writing because I'm a Pierce Brown meat writer or Glazer, either term, both terms at once even.
Both at once. That's crazy.
Okay, maybe not both at once, but the same way that you are the CEO of Hatertown, I am the CEO of Glazer City.
I'm clipping that audio.
Please don't. I don't like when you clip audios because then Chase sends them to me.
Yeah, and then you're out here claiming that I made an AI Richard.
You did make an AI, Richard. I don't know why you're fucking lying on the air right now.
You know what? Maybe I will make an AI Richard and then I won't need you on the podcast anymore.
All right, who's gonna make the outlines?
I'll have AI Richard make it.
You'll have it. Oh, it'll be even more incoherent.
Maybe AI Richard will be more coherent.
I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty silly with this. Like,
You do you get some good detail into these outlines. I do always enjoy reading whatever jokes you throw in here.
well, I'm just blatant. Like, Severo did fuck off. He's
He
gone.
did.
We don't fucking know where he is.
That's very true. I mean, what more can you say about these chapters? Severo kills a wolf with his bare hands for breakfast. Darrow
Yeah,
lies about having killed Cassius's twin brother, and you've got Titus being brutal and just the biggest dickhead asshole that you could possibly think of. So
yeah.
I don't know. Do you have anything to add about these few chapters?
Not too much. Like you said, fuck Titus. He's an op for real. Uh, Darrow lying about killing Julian will surely have no implications later on in the book. I mean, what kind of terrible writer would do that? Would actually make events have purchase in the story? I mean, that'd be awful, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And before we start getting into our wrap up, Richard, there's some exciting things coming for Radioactive Ramblings, aren't there?
I don't know what you're going on about, bro. I don't even know.
We at Radioactive Ramblings, we've been thinking for a while about what we can cover next as sort of mainline coverage. There's not really shows out right now that we feel could be covered by us,
Yeah,
and
because other podcasts in the network are covering like the Penguin. And I feel like
yeah,
that's really one of the only big. And Agatha all along what is or was getting covered. I don't know. I did
yeah,
not watch the show.
Agatha all along is getting full coverage over on the Lorehounds. The Penguin is getting coverage by both the Lorehounds and Properly Howard did a surprise drop of a Penguin review, so we figured that uh, we may do like maybe end of season. We might chit chat about it briefly, but we're not going to be doing full coverage. So we've been racking our brains trying to think of what we can have going until February when Invincible comes out because we're definitely doing episode by episode coverage of that.
Oh, of
And
course. I'm so excited for Invincible, bro.
absolutely. And where we kind of landed on that was we're going to be doing a few reviews over the next uh, months, weeks, however long, of some Studio Ghibli movies, which I haven't seen most of them. I've seen a few, obviously, because they're just so prolific in media. But yeah, so the two of us and Chase are going to be hopping back on the mic, finally, the three of us back together to review some Studio Ghibli movies.
Yeah,
And
we're
we're
gonna be
starting.
doing. I think Howl's Moving Castle is the first one. Yes.
Yes, you are
Okay.
absolutely correct. I think that that was what Chase chose for us as our first review, and we might do a little preview episode just to get the word out that we're doing a Studio Ghibli review series, but that might be our main content for a little while just because we have a long interim and we want to talk about shit. We enjoy getting in front of the microphone and rambling on and on about something that we enjoy, which
Oh, for sure. I would like to say too, we do plan on at some point. I know we said we were going to do it, and we never actually. We kind of had just too much going on at the time. We're going to do Elden Ring. We're going to do it. I swear.
are we? We're doing
We
Elden.
are. We are. We're gonna do Elden Ring. All right. I have two outlines written. I have to revise the one outline because it's all about the Golden Lineage. Okay, that's fair. I have to revise the one outline though, because that's about all the demigods, and I made that before Mesmer had lore, really.
Yeah.
So I gotta rewrite that one. But well, because I think we recorded the first episode, but then the audio file wasn't good because me and Chase left before it uploaded.
Yeah, that was my bad for not telling you not to leave. That was on me. But
Yeah, it's all your
we can
fault.
re-record. Yeah, we can re-record at some point. I did have audio files for it, but they were just really poor quality, which none of us already like the three of us have fairly inexpensive microphones. So our audio quality is already like just fine, like just barely well enough.
Yeah.
Um but I do, yeah. I think that if we do a little re-recording of it and get it out there, it would be awesome because I could yap about Elden Ring for so long. So that might be a series that I don't know, maybe once a month an Elden Ring podcast,
Yeah.
or same
It
thing with
would.
Fallout lore, where it's a little bit more on the back burner. Like every once in a while, we'll drop an episode.
Yeah, I feel like for the big lore things like those, it's just compiling the lore takes forever. Like that Elden Ring one didn't take forever, that first one, but that's because I was dialed. I was dialed in so hard, and I wrote that thing in like 2 hours. I had like 18 tabs open
Hmm.
on Google. I had the game open. I was looking for items. I spent 30 minutes killing the same enemy to get an item to drop so I could get the lore from it because I didn't feel like looking it up on Google. I don't know why. Don't ask me. I'm stupid. All right.
No,
Well,
that's
I'm
so
just
fair
dedicated.
because
I'm
I
dedicated.
feel I feel like especially with Elden Ring, if you go on YouTube and you watch a Vati video, like there's so many great lore YouTubers out there for Elden Ring especially that if we aren't bringing a unique spin to it and giving some information or presenting the information in a different way, I don't want to just rehash something that's already out there in a form that's probably better. So I think that having our own unique, more, I don't even want to say more in depth, but just covering different, covering it from a different angle. Like we need a unique take on it, and I feel like are we've got that a little bit.
Yeah. What I like about the Elden Ring lore, though, one obviously how complex it is. It drives me insane how complex it is, honestly, sometimes. But then the other part of it too is that there's a lot of room for like just theories. And I feel like between the three of us, we all have some pretty unique theories on what's going on in the lands between, behind the scenes that we don't get any details on.
Oh, I've got
Like
so many theories, man.
what do you know about blah 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 Melina? Like
Melina,
we
I'm
could cook.
yeah, like she's okay. Never mind. I'm not going to get into it because then I'm going to have less to talk about on an Elden Ring podcast. But anyways,
Yeah, shut up, idiot.
wow, so rude. I'm kicking you from the call. You didn't raise your hand to speak.
I don't know how to. Oh wait, I found it. All right, I raised my hand to speak. Yep, now I'm speaking. Fuck you.
You don't have the talking stick.
Oh, can you drop it off real quick?
Yeah, let me just take the 7-hour drive to Buffalo real quick.
Oh wait, you don't have a car, so you can't.
I'll rent a car.
Okay, I believe you.
Will I even remember how to drive?
I don't know.
You should let me crash your car.
No. Actually, I'm like almost. I have like 2 payments left, and then I'm done paying it off. So no, you cannot crash my car.
Richard, this has been a fun episode. You want to let people know how they can get a hold of us so that they can be a part of the conversation?
Oh my god, I get to yap. Oh my goodness gracious, that's my favorite part of this. All right, so of course, as always, we are happy to bring you any content through Ramblers Rising or Radioactive Ramblings, and we are just so glad to have listeners like you guys for some feedback. Because I know I make mistakes a lot. You can email radioactive@thelorehounds.com to tell me and Aaron how bad or amazing or whatever we're doing. We do have a channel set up for Radioactive Ramblings in the Lorehounds Discord server. You could send us a message, chat about the show, tell us to cover something that maybe we missed, or stuff like that. So give us suggestions for something you want to hear us talk about. Anything helps. We also have a contact form that you could leave or leave us a voicemail at thelorehounds.com. We also have a Twitter or X account, which is at Radioactive141. And we'd appreciate a rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever other platform you guys are listening on.
And we've been thinking about getting a TikTok going to get ourselves out there a little bit more, just because I personally don't
Dude, I hate
like Twitter
Twitter.
that
I hate
much, even though
Twitter.
I'm the one who started our Twitter.
Wait, I know.
I just every time I'm on there, I see a
Why
take
don't we
that
do a
hurts
Threads
my
account?
brain.
Threads is popping. No, I'm lying.
Is it? Threads was popping for like a week.
Yeah, Threads
If
is
you're
bad.
Yeah, so if you it will likely be the same handle, the at Radioactive141, when our TikTok is up, and hopefully I can get some fun little videos out for
Oh,
maybe some podcast
should we
clips.
have our fucking cameras on then? Would that be a
Don't you
better?
not have a camera?
I don't right now, but I could go buy one. It'd be like $20.
I mean, maybe, but I for as far as clips go, I I'll probably just do some edits or something with our voiceover. I don't even know what I would do, but we'll see. We'll get into it. Before we let you guys go, I just want to let you all know what else the Lorehounds Barovian Broadcasting Network has going on. We're always popping off with some stuff. The Lorehounds themselves are our parent podcast who makes all of this possible, both with the software that we use and just helping us get on our feet when we first started this podcast. They have coverage of Agatha all along, they have the Penguin, and they're currently going through the Poltergeist movies for Halloween, which I just listened to the first review of their Poltergeist movies, and it's really entertaining. They've got some interesting things to say about the satanic panic in the 80s, and it's just um, they've always got some fun Spooktober stuff going on around Halloween. So go give them a listen. Listen to Agatha all along. Properly Howard movie review. They're, I believe, still on hiatus. Richard, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, just curious. Why didn't we do anything for October? We could have been so smart.
We can do something for Halloween.
Yeah, watch Terrifier, idiot. I'm kidding. We are not covering Terrifier because those movies are violent and disgusting and awful. I almost puked at the third one.
I haven't seen any of them, nor do I really care to. Yeah, but Properly Howard, they're on hiatus, I believe, but they just dropped a surprise review of The Penguin. I don't know if they're planning on having any additional coverage, if they're going to do maybe a end of season check-in or something like that, but they're awesome. They're hilarious. Go give their podcast a listen if you haven't. Um, Alicia over on Wool Shift Dust, who is also one of the three Lorehounds, she, I believe, is gearing up for some coverage of the new season of Silo, which is really exciting. Silo is an awesome sci-fi show on Apple TV Plus, so go give that show a listen if you haven't listened yet, and stay tuned for Silo season 2 coverage. I believe the Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast by Alicia is coming back pretty soon as well. Mark and Nicole over on Nevermind the Music, the latest podcast from the network, they've got their season coming out, which is just awesome. I believe they're on episode 10 of their season. I'm not sure how many episodes they're going to have total, but super entertaining. They look at different genres of music and just really knowledgeable and funny people. So definitely give them a listen if you haven't. And Marilyn and Dr. Sarah Brown over on Rings and Rituals. Now that the second season of The Rings of Power is over, I'm sure that they have some ideas cooking for how they're going to cover the second season later on. So stay tuned for news on that. And as always, Richard let you know how you can get in touch with us, but all of the affiliate podcasts of the Lorehounds, as well as how you can get in touch with us, that's all going to be in our show notes. And we're just really grateful that you guys are listening. Every week we put out one of these, and we love having conversations with each other and with you guys, and it just, anytime that we hear from y'all, it really does make doing this so much more fun, and we appreciate your listenership. So thank you, and we hope to see you in the next episode.